The Hidden, what's up, man? Thanks for the sub. Way to enter the chat, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. We're gonna start soon, guys. I'm finishing some setup, okay? But I'm here reading your comments. Lord Tellum, what's up, man? Welcome, welcome. That's what I called quite an entrance, Hidden. Quite an entrance. We got 3D Maniac, Victor Dom, and Briones over here on YouTube as well. It's a shame I cannot show both chats at the same time. Sorry about that, guys, but welcome. I always read both of them. Diamond Inc., what's up, man? Thank you. I'm glad you like the work. It's always nice to hear some feedback about that because it can be a little bit tiring. There you go, Lord Tellum. Yeah. We've been getting a lot of very good reviews about our courses. The ZBrush scores, the Substance scores, the Marvel scores. And I mean, not to brag too much, but I do think I'm a good teacher, so hopefully that translates well into the into the courses as well. I cannot see any picture, Victor Dom. If you can describe what it is you're trying to do, that might be a little bit easier. Piggy, what's up, man? Welcome. I cannot see it, man. You cannot share images on the chat. But most of the stuff on the internet, you can find some sort of like tutorial or something. And at the end of the day, you just need to apply the principles of 3D world, all the modeling principles. What software are you using, Victor? Are you using? No, I don't have any link. You cannot share links. Are you using Blender or are you using Maya? Oh, thanks, Lord Tellum. Maria, what's up? Welcome.
What is it when you rock and rollers? You can
Today, we are going to have fun. It's gonna be a fun one. Very, very fun one. Sheila Kid. It's good, right, Maria? I think I told you guys that for the Topogun course, I had to restart. Like, I already had like half of the course recorded, and I was just not feeling it. So I restarted the whole recording process, and this like new version, the one that's published, I think it's very, very good. I think we're able to cover a lot of stuff, and I tried to make it as entertaining as possible, because topology usually is a little bit boring or tedious, but hopefully that's not the case in this one. We got a follow by Diamond. Thanks, man. Lord Emmanuel, what's up, man? I'm finishing installing some softwares that we're going to be using today. So we're going to start very soon, okay? How's the music, by the way? I think it's a little bit loud. I actually don't like that one. There you go, that's nicer. The other one was a little bit too intense. Why did I left next to it? Oh, that question is gonna haunt me forever, right? So the short answer, the short explanation is that we just had different goals in mind, right? Like the direction that the Nextud was going was not the exact direction that I wanted to keep my courses or to follow, if that makes sense. So I just decided to step out. Like, I did not, because a lot of people think I got fired or something. I didn't get fired. I voluntarily resigned. So I resigned and I started this. So I'm still teaching. And all of my courses that I did with them, they're still there. They're still really good. If you want to get them on Udemy, go for it. But the new stuff, the updated stuff, is now here on my site. We parted ways in amicable terms, so there's no bad blood or anything between us. It's just life, guys. Life takes you in different directions sometimes, and you just gotta go with it. Can you export the finished mesh from Marbles Designer and import it into Blender? Yes, of course, my friend. We actually do that in Chapter 5 of our Marbles course. I show you how to export and render, and I even show you how to do simulations. So we simulate, well, that's in the bonus chapter. On the bonus chapter of the Marvelous course, I teach you how to bake the simulation from Marvelous and import the animated like cloth or the animated mesh into Marvelous and into Maya as well. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Like that's that's actually one of the main purposes of Marvelous Designer. I know we as character artists, we tend to use it as a cloth simulation thing for sculpting for games and stuff like that. But Marvelous has been used for, what's the word? Has been used for films and productions for a long time. Yeah, I just answered that, Phoenix. I just answered that. And yeah, as Maria says right here, I look more happy in my videos in my own YouTube channel, and it's complicated. I'm super grateful for all of the things that I was able to do while I was at Nextud. It was an amazing time, and I've always been very thankful to Naleen for allowing me to have that opportunity. But as I mentioned, like, we were just having different views on what the future meant for this sort of like educational content. I wanted to do certain things, which are all of the things that I'm doing right now here with you guys, and yeah, but like they wanted to do other things, so that's why we were just not matching anymore, and it was easier for me to just step down. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Phoenix. And yeah, and that's an advice that I've given people. I think it was one of the very first shorts that I did like last year, where I mentioned that it's very important, especially in art-related things, that you never do something that you're not comfortable with. And actually, let me go full screen because this got sort of. I remember there were some comments on that short that I did that were a little bit. Maybe I didn't explain myself too well there. When I say never do something that you're not comfortable with, I mean something that you personally, with your morals, with your goals, with your values, you don't follow, right? Maria, I think you just shared on Discord the the commercial that Apple did, right, for the iPads, where they crush a lot of like things with a hydraulic press, and that's the kind of stuff. Like, if I was part of that team, I would feel uncomfortable doing that as well. Be like, no, dude, like, it's a lot of waste. It doesn't make sense to do this. So if I don't feel comfortable doing it, it's better to just like step away from that. And sometimes, yeah, you're gonna have to say no to opportunities that other people might be like, oh, you're an idiot, like that was a great opportunity. But if it doesn't vibe right with you, if it doesn't feel right for you, then it's very difficult to do something that's meaningful and cool. Some people took that a little bit out of context and said that I meant that you should never try to do something that gets you out of your comfort zone, and that's not what I meant. Like, of course you should always be challenging yourself, and of course when you're learning, for instance, a new skill, or where you're trying to improve as an artist, you are going to be in this uncomfortable zone. But it's a difference between an uncomfortability from not knowing something and being in the learning process than it is for about doing something that you just don't connect with, right? Like, if you are not 100% in with a project, then that's your sign that that's not the project. And it takes a little bit of time to realize that. And I know sometimes you don't have a lot of opportunities to do that. Like, sometimes you got a family to take care of, and you have to do things that you might not want to do. But if you have the option and the opportunity to pursue something like what I've been doing and try to find your voice somewhere else, I think it's always a good idea. There we go. Eduardo Resendiz, yes, today we are going to be painting with 3D Code. We're going to be exploring a little bit of that software. To be honest, it's not going to be like a class. I'm just going to... It's been a tough week, so I just want to have a little bit of fun, relax, and hopefully learn along the way. Is that Arthas behind me? Yes, it is. Let me show you. So this was the Lich King's, I don't know, 2010 collectible. I remember when I bought this, I was very poor. I was in high school or something like that, so I didn't have a lot of money. I had to save quite a bit. It was not that expensive. It was like $100 or something. But at the time, for me, that was way too much. So yeah, unfortunately, I lost the little like thingy here on the crown. I can probably 3D print it now, just to get it back there. But yeah, this is Arthas from World of Warcraft: The Lich King. Lord Emmanuel says, Ave, do you think it's a good idea to outside your country? Well, you mean to migrate, pretty much. Do you think it's a good idea to migrate? Let's just go full screen. Like, well, I was gonna skip the countdown, but we're just having fun, right? We'll start in 14 minutes. In 14 minutes, we'll start with the exercise, but for now, we're just having fun. So, do you think a person from India, I can feel Mexican artists the same way? Yeah. So, yes, unfortunately, there are what we call hubs, right? So 3D hubs. Depending on which part of the world you are, it might be easier or harder to find this 3D studios or studios that are doing 3D. In the United States, even in the United States, like if you're in the US, you still need to travel to the main hubs of where the 3D work is being done. Because, for instance, you're not gonna find big studios in, I don't know, Wisconsin or Utah, right? Like, those are areas that are normally related to 3D work or to creative work. So you're gonna have to go to New York, to Seattle, of course, to Los Angeles, stuff like that, in Vancouver, where else? Like that, there's a couple of hubs. In Europe, it's the same thing. You're gonna have to go to London, probably maybe Madrid in Spain. So usually the capitals are where there's more work. Here in Mexico, the same thing happens. Like, the most studios that I've seen are in Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. But you can find small studios every now and then in other parts. And one of the things that I love about the 3D work is that there's a lot of options to do freelance. But to do freelance, you need to be very disciplined. You need to have, of course, connections, and you need to be good. Unfortunately, as with everything, you do need to be good. Evil Fry, I was thinking about doing that today, to do a stream of me just like painting a miniature, but it's gonna be a short stream, it's just gonna be 2 hours today, so I don't think we're gonna be able to cover that much, and I still need to clean up the area where I need to do it, which is like right around there. It's behind my little wall here, my sound wall, and I need to prepare everything, like the iPad and things like that. So we will do something like that, but not yet. Breakstar, what's up, man? Adil Rosa says, "Hi, Abe, this is me. Get out of my comfort zone. Watching the live stream. Never watched one before. I'm also afraid of hand painting." Oh, you're gonna see it's a lot easier than it might think, or it might seem. I mean, there's levels, right, with everything, and this is something that I want to talk about. You guys need to be, and I mentioned this on one of my last videos. If you haven't seen the video that's 7 tips or 7 things I wish I knew as an artist, you should watch it, because on one of those, I mentioned one very important thing. We are usually very afraid of starting something or doing something or learning something because we're afraid of failure. If you start learning something and the first thing that you say to yourself is, I am going to fail, at least for me, that has helped quite a bit, because it removes a big burden, because I know I'm in the learning process, and through this learning process, I am going to fail. But once I fail, I learn, and I fail again, and I learn again, and I fail more, and I learn more, and that's how you improve. And eventually, you're gonna know enough that you're not gonna be failing anymore. But even then, even after doing this for a lot of years, you're still gonna have some mistakes and some issues. So it's always a good idea to keep practicing and keep pushing, and don't be afraid of failing. And again, linked to that, there's also this thought that whenever we do something, it should be to the maximum amount of quality. Like, this is something that Brandon Sanderson used to say, or says in one of his talks. He says, if you're gonna write, don't write with the idea of making your book a bestseller, because if you do that, you're gonna have this huge pressure on your shoulders, and then it's gonna be very difficult for you to accomplish anything. Instead, try to write, in this case, or for us, try to create just for the sake of creating, just for the sake of learning, just for the sake of improving. And then if it ends up being a bestseller, or if it ends up being like a really good project or a really good thing, then that's success, right? But you were not pursuing that, you were pursuing something else, and that kind of success is like a consequence of the whole thing. So if you start seeing that as if you see that as a sort of as a methodology of learning and creating, like create for the sake of creating, not for the sake of like making like a perfect product, then you will be creating those sort of like perfect products. And every single product, every single thing, it has flaws. Like the best sellers, the best movies, the best video games, all of those things, they have flaws. They're not like immaculate and perfect. There's always room for improvement. So yeah, don't be so harsh on yourself. Try to understand that this sort of like artistic career, this artistic path that we're going for, is a journey, and you need to enjoy the journey, not focus on the destination. It's always important to have a goal, right? It's important to know where we're going, but it's not important to just focus on that, but rather to enjoy the whole process. There's this, I don't like TikTok and I don't like Instagram because you can lose a lot of time there, but every now and then, there's a lot of like cool information as well. And there's this guy, like long beard, older artist, and he mentions that if you're making art to please someone else, you're failing as an artist, because art should not be made to please. Art should be made for you to create something, and then if that pleases someone else, if other people react to those things positively, then that's great. But even if they don't, as long as you did it from your own like inner self, for your own sort of like expression, that's already art. Because otherwise it's not art that you're creating, it's a product. And there's nothing wrong with products, it's just that there's like different things that you always need to sort of like have your mind on. Breakstar, we're not doing reviews today, man, but we're gonna have those very, very soon. That's in 2 weeks. I'm actually not sure if I've opened submissions just yet. I don't think I have. But if I haven't, I'll update them this weekend so that you guys can submit on the Discord channel. Yeah, Able Fry, that's a great advice, and that's something that, again, you hear quite a bit, like fail faster, because by failing, you learn. And that's it. Like if you don't fail, it's very difficult to learn. So every single thing that you do, sorry, every single thing that you go through, every single life experience, every single mistake, every single challenge, all of those things build up your credentials as an artist. They build your what's the word? Oh, there's a word in English. I guess your spirit or something like that. It gets it creates like a backbone for you. It gives you tools and resources so that the next time you're faced with those projects, you know how to handle them. That's a lot of talk right there, but yeah, it's part of the process, guys. Let's see, we got a couple questions. Solid Mango, what's up, man? I'm doing good. I'm a little bit tired. Well, not a little bit. I'm quite a bit tired. This was an intense week over at the studio, so there was a lot of things that I had to take care of. And here in Mexico, I'm not sure if you guys know, but May 10th, so today, it's a Mother's Day. So we had like our mother's celebration a couple of days ago. My wife, her birthday is on May 10th, so right now today is my wife's birthday. So yeah, it's been a very intense week, very, very intense week. Finally, ZBrush is coming to ZBrush. I think you mean to iPads, Vadesh. Yeah, ZBrush is coming to iPads. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I'm sure they're gonna be charging, and I'm sure it's not gonna be cheap. I'm sure it's gonna be a subscription, because they're not gonna give you a perpetual license for iPad. And I was talking about this on the Discord channel. I think it's gonna be fun for those who are more of a hobbyist like level of 3D artist. Like if you just do it for fun, and you are just practicing on the go or on your living room or whatever, that's fine. But at least for me, that I do this for a living, it's gonna be just easier for me to just go here to my workstation and work in ZBrush with my Huion and my tablets. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it. I mean, if they send me a copy to review, I'll be happy to do so. But I'm not sure if I'm willing to pay for yet another license on something that I might not be using too much. Airings Phoenix, welcome, man. Thanks for the follow. Victor, if you mean topology for what's the word? If you mean topology for modeling, I recommend like learning a little bit more about modeling, right? I have a couple of courses. I'll show them in just a second. But if it's topology for retopology, we recently launched a new course, which is the Topogon course. You definitely want to check that one out, because I think you can learn a lot of the things that you are looking for right there. Is there anything you feel like you can't model? Yes, of course, Tranquil, but think about it. I'm not so good at hard surface stuff, to be honest. Like, I know hard surface. I know how to model, like, traditional box modeling instead of Maya. It's fine for me. But whenever I see this, like, super cool sort of, like, transformer things and sci-fi, like, or robots and things like that, I am not that good. That's I would say that's one of my weakest area, because I'm more focused in the what's the word? I'm more focused on the on organic stuff, characters, creatures, things like that. Aaron, what's up, man? Kaiser, what's up? Yeah, Victor, I'll show you in just a second. I need to finish something over here first. There we go. I don't want to spoil what we're. I mean, it's already on the thumbnail for ZBrush, but I don't want to spoil everything just yet. Oh, we're about to start. So if you go to our site, Victor, over here, this one, the Blender 3D AAA Weapon for Games, that's a great course to learn the basics of modeling for games. This is both of this, like all three of this, I would consider them to be beginner level courses. However, the Maya one is like the easiest one. Like if you've never done anything 3D related and you want to start, this one, Maya, is the best one. If you've already done a little bit of 3D and you want to go to the next level, then this one, Blender, you can apply the same things from Blender in other software. So these are kind of like interchangeable. And then of course, if you want to go into character stuff, the ZBrush stylized character. Once you cover those, then we got the other three, which are a little bit more specialized. For instance, this complete guide to retopology, which is the one that Maria was talking about. This one's a little bit more aimed to people who want to improve their retopology workflow, be faster, be more efficient, and capture all of the details in the best possible way. Substance Symmetry is a must-have for anyone doing textures. Substance Symmetry is just freaking amazing. And this one is a little bit more niche, but it's really, really good. I love using Marvel's Designer. So this one's really, really good for clothing for characters. And here we have David on the channel. There you go. Yeah, we're getting more and more reviews, as you can see. So when you finish chapters, the chapters, you get the prompt. So if you're watching the courses and you get the prompt, it really helps us if you leave a review, so that people can see that, yeah, like so far, we got 5-star reviews on all of them right here. We got several hundred students, so I can guarantee these are good courses, guys. I promise you're not gonna regret it. Yeah, but I haven't done a lot of hard surface stuff, Tranquil. Like, for instance, I think the most complex hard stuff that I've done was probably this one right here. And even this is very boxy, right? Like, there's nothing like inherently like challenging or complicated. Maybe you could consider this one right here, but even this one, again, it's quite boxy. So I'm not well prepared. Like, most of my stuff you can see here is characters, is creatures, is environments, it's props. I don't do a lot of hard surface things. Well, this one, I was really proud of the of the shoulder guard right there for Door. So yeah, I guess that one was a cool one right there. But yeah, it's a different, like, I consider my hard surface to be like a simple hard surface. It's not like super complex hard surface like what I've seen from games like what was this game, Titanfall and things like that. I had the only course on Udemy, but not on your site. Can I leave a review? No, unfortunately, no. You need to get it on my site. But don't worry, man. It's fine. Like, even in Udemy, it really helps. Oh wait, I was not gonna show this yet. Well, might as well just start, right? Like, it's time. Is the countdown ready? Yeah, it's 34 seconds. So, hello everyone. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are having a great time. And today, we're gonna keep it chill. As I've mentioned, it's been a long week for me. It's been a little bit tiring, so I just want to relax. I just want to have fun. Well, answer your questions, and yeah, just have a good time. Enjoy the process. Paint something. That's it. That's just it. There we go. So let me show you what we're gonna be doing. This is a character, and let's go down memory lane. The first job that I got outside of school was for this game called Realms of Conquest. I think I've mentioned this before. And Realms of Conquest was this sort of like tabletop RPG thing. There you go. So it was, imagine Age of Empires, right? So it's kind of like Age of Empires, where you would build your army, you would have X amount of points, and you could choose your units, and then you would face the other element. It was pretty much like a Warhammer sort of like inspired tabletop thing. And this giant right there that you see right there, see that guy? That was my first like sculpt out of what's the word? Yeah, it's exactly like Warhammer. That was my first character outside of school. Like, I literally graduated and I got this job like in the first week. Actually, even a little bit before graduating, I think I got the job. And I did that little giant right there. Let me see. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me see if I have the Marmoset viewer thing. Let me see if I have it. Because I think I did, and then I took it out of my portfolio. No, I don't have it here. No, I don't have it. I'm not sure where it is, but it was that giant right there, and it was really ugly. Like, now I see it as like, oh my god, I definitely could have done something better, but I was just learning. I was just starting. So this was the first game that we did, and unfortunately the game never came to fruition due to several reasons. One of them, of course, as with a lot of things related to game development, funds. We were lacking funds, and yeah, it just like unfortunately could never work. However, like midway through the production, there was a change, and this was back when Fortnite was getting bigger and bigger, and we saw the opportunity to do a little bit of a switch in style, and we switched to this style right here. Let me show you, which was a little bit more cartoonish, and it allowed for a better wreath on the battlefield, and it also allowed for a better performance. What the hell? Why is this not working? It's weird. Anyway, so I did this Wii shard, and as you can see, she's a little bit more stylized. Like, it's not perfect. I would definitely change again things, but this was, there you go, 7 years ago, so a long time ago. And while we were doing this and redoing a lot of the characters of the game, I worked on this one. So this was the Abomination. He's a big tanky character. As you can see, he's way more cartoonish. It's not as realistic as the Giant. And I had a lot of fun doing this guy. Then we had to have like variations with hair and things like that. But this was your typical Frankenstein, right? And he was supposed to be bulky, strong, not very intelligent. It was going to be like a single unit, so it was like a hero unit. And this is very low poly here. Let me show you. Oh, where's the wireframe? I always forget where the wireframe is. No, that's not it. Well, I can show you in Maya. So this is the wireframe. So as you can see, he only has 4,500 faces for the whole character. Super low poly, super low poly. Just the basic things that we needed for this. Why? Because this character was going to be seen at roughly this distance right there in the game. So this was going to be like the size of the character, and it was very important to do it like this. No, that I wasn't. No, I was hired there. I was hired in that company. It was called Warforged Games. I still have the contact for a lot of those people. Like the company no longer exists. It was a small company, but no, I was not an intern. I was hired as an artist. I was being paid. Don't worry about that. Now I see this, and there's definitely again like some topology things that I would change or just modify a little bit. But I wanted to show you guys that I actually rigged this character back in the day, and it was working like relatively fine. Like it was not perfect, but it was okay-ish. We had like an IFK, FK-IK switch. The feet here you can see rising up. I love this gizmo right here. This is called the foot control or reverse foot control, where you can do tip, you can do ankle, you can do the side of the feet, the other side of the feet. So these are just like a very basic sort of like things that you need as an animator to be able to move your character. And these were the textures. So this texture process that you see right here was done inside of Substance, and it's not bad. Like I like it. I think it looks good, but I definitely feel like he lacks a little bit of information, right? Like a lot of the stuff that we have right here is a little bit dull in comparison. So very flat, very like it's not like hand painted. It's like a hand painted style, but it's not really hand painted. So yeah, this is just base color and normal map. I don't think he has roughness, or if he has, it's just like a very simple roughness. Let me bring the roughness like all the way up. So it would be like that. Like this is how you would see it in the game. And again, it's not bad, but it's not really like popping off, right? Like it's not really like showing, or we're not really able to see it. So today we're gonna be doing a redo on this thing. We're gonna be doing hand painted textures, and we're gonna do like proper hand painted textures, not this thing right here. Let's see. Lord Tellum says, when you have a low poly model like this, but you sculpted it originally with a lot of detail, is there a way to get the detail for a high poly onto low poly? No, you bake. You use bakes. Like this is bakes right here. Like if we go to the channels, that's it. Like all of the high poly information, it's right here on the normal map. Okay, so all of this is on the normal map. The high poly was quite heavy, so you transfer all of this information here onto the low poly. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna use, of course, what's the word? 3D Coat, and we need to import the characters. So let me just make sure that I have the proper one. Should be this one. I'm gonna say File, New. We're going to do a new Paint UV Map Mesh. And we're gonna paint directly on the UVs. This guy does not have mirror UVs. It's just this is the basic character. Let's load it. Yeah, usually for hand painted textures, you're not gonna use metal and roughness. Everything's just gonna be painted in. And the cool thing is, since we are using the same UVs, let me show you the UVs real quick. Once we finish painting, and since we already have the rig, we can just bring the textures in and animate the character. So it's a fun one. It's a very, very fun character, this one. Now, let's go here to 3D code. We're gonna use OpenGL, no subdivisions, keep UV, no smoothing. Heat 2K is gonna be fine, and there we go. So there we go. We have the character right here. We're gonna have our layers. Bring the symmetry over to this side. We have the layers over here. And there we go. So yes, we're gonna have a portfolio review. Actually, David, can you remind me to do this after the stream? To just open the portfolio submissions for this month? Because we're definitely gonna need that. You can save more resources, DC Toast, if you don't use it. So it's not that you don't use them all the time. Like, there might be some games where you do use them, but most of the time, especially if you want to really, really optimize things, everything is hand painted. That way, when you're seeing the element in game, even the normal map, I'm gonna show you how we can pretty much get rid of the normal map, and we're just gonna have a layer, a color map, and that's gonna be more than enough. So here on Substance, I'm gonna export a couple of things. I'm going to export the normal map. So, well, we need to go here to the textures. Let's call this mesh. There we go. So this is the normal map. Okay, we're gonna export this. Export resource. Let's export this on the desktop. Let me create a new folder here. Let's call this abomination. I definitely need to clean up the desktop. It's getting like a mess now. So that one's gonna be the normal, and we're gonna export the ambient occlusion as well. So export ambient occlusion, and then I'm gonna export one more, and this one I really like using. This is one of the tricks that I did back in the when we did the mind flayer last year. So I'm gonna go here to a fill layer. We're gonna add a fill layer, and what we're gonna do is I am going to add a black mask. Actually, well, that's fine. Fill layer, white mask, and then this one, black mask, and this one's gonna be black. We're gonna add a black mask, and we're gonna add a generator, and this is gonna be a light generator. And then this one, I'm gonna point it up like this. Let me just add another layer so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing here is I'm pretty much on the color map, base color right there. I'm creating, as you can see, just the limitation of where the main tones and elements of my characters are going to be. And I can play a little bit here with the light modifier to change this. And it's a way to paint in the shadows without actually having to paint them. So instead of having to guess where the light is going to be, I'm going to be using this one as a mask. It's not the same as ambient occlusion. A lot of people will think that this is the same as ambient occlusion, but this is not the same. It's a little bit different because this is a just like a black or a white and black map. I'm going to say file, and this one we do need to export over from this side. So using the exported option, and I'm going to export just the document channels for Snowball Portfolio. Targa is fine. Just export. There we go. So now we jump here into 3D code, and we're gonna bring in some of those elements. So if we go here to imports, we can import. We're gonna import an external AOE or ambient occlusion, just that one right there. Right. That's gonna give us the ambient occlusion of the character in just a second. Alejandro Botero, todo bien, man? Here we are. Is it working? I don't see it working. Let me delete that. Let me check where it's probably not on the textures import. Oh, let's import the normal map first. So normal map, and we got here normal map. It's OpenGL. Pretty sure, do we need to invert it? Is it working nice there? Yeah, it's working nice. Perfect. Awesome. So as you can see, that's the normal map. That's going to give us all of the details. But sometimes, again, the normal map is expensive. So it's important to... what's the word? Yeah, of course I speak Spanish, man. I'm Mexican. Should everything, organic thing, use an SSS map like bones, horns, everything? Not all the time, but it always helps to add just a little bit of something. So yeah, if you can do it, do it. Now we're gonna add texture, import. I'm just gonna do a layers color. Yeah, well, not layers color. Import. Let's do a color albedo, and we're gonna import this albedo color right here. Actually, that's not the one. Wait a second. Why is it? Oh, I know why this is happening. Sorry, my bad. I think I'm going to the wrong ones. So textures, import, color albedo. Yeah, I was going to the old one. There we go. So here on the abomination, we're gonna import this base color. There we go. So see that? So this base color right there is just the lights. And if we take out the normal map, we're already seeing the detail because we're pretty much baking in the detail in light instead of in normal map. So this is gonna be useful for us to blend in all of the things that we need. Now, of course, this is not gonna be as intense. Right now, the opacity for this one is way too much. And finally, let's bring on the external ambient occlusion. This is one right here. And over here, I'm just gonna do pick average. There we go. There you go. Perfect. So now look at this. We have the normal map, the ambient occlusion, right? And of course, this is the base color. Over here, we are gonna see the UV. Where is the UV? Windows. Panels. I don't use poly or 3D code as much, so forgive me if I'm a little bit slow on the interface. Where is it? Your textures look significantly different when I change monitors. How would you go about texturing this way, if you get what I mean? Yeah, so unfortunately, every single monitor is going to be slightly different. Professional color grading artists use a specific monitor, but you cannot control. And this is what I mentioned, I think, on the color grading video that we did a couple of weeks ago. That even if you do like an amazing color grading inside of your software, when you go and what's the word? When you go and publish it, if people are going to be watching your Netflix show on their phone and it's like an old phone or something, then all that color grading freaking goes out the window because no one's going to be able to appreciate all of the effects right there. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn off the ambient occlusion. We can turn that on at anytime we want. And I'm going to add a new layer. And the first thing we need to do is we need to create what's called the local color. And in this one in particular, we were going for this sort of like yellow. So I'm gonna go. I don't like that one. I prefer this one. There you go. Actually, yeah, let's go this one. So usually I never go to the extremes of our colors, neither in saturation nor in value. So we always go for sort of like mid values right there. I'm gonna grab this sort of like orangey yellowish tone right here, something like that. And of course, if we start painting, over on this side right here on the depth opacity, I'm gonna set this to 0. So we're only painting color, and roughness opacity is also going to be 0. Now, ambient occlusion, since this is a black and white image, we can... Oh, it's already set to multiply. So this base color, we're also going to set to multiply. So that we're only getting the dark colors. So now, in this layer, as you can see, we can paint the local colors of our object. Here, it's definitely a good idea to enable symmetry on the elements. I don't want to show the symmetry plane so that we don't do double the work, right? So let's just paint all of this right here. All of this right here. Of course, I know that this is not perfectly symmetrical. Like the stitches and things like that are not perfectly symmetrical, but I just want to get the main idea here, or the main shapes. There we go. So this is stage, and I'm not sure if my good friend Eduardo is still right here, but this is stage. I believe they call them flats. Whenever they're doing like coloring, they call this stage flats. Now I'm gonna go to the base color here, and I'm gonna bring the opacity down a little bit. I don't want to have too much like darkness on the shadows right there. And here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the hue. So I'm gonna make this hue a little bit darker right here. And now we can start like changing a couple of things. So if you see here, his skin is made out of like this big patterns. So this would be the point where we can start like changing some of those patterns so we get a slightly different effect. Of course, here we now can remove symmetry. And I'm gonna change my brushes. So if we go to the brush palette, where is it? Orith, we normally have our streams on Friday at around this time right here. Window, panels. It's not the brush options. Where is my brush panel? Color channel, color palette. Smart materials. No, it's not. Always watching, always improving. There you go. Nice to see you again first as well. Nice to see you. Yeah, 3D Code is quite fun. Again, I don't use it as much. I wish I could use it more, to be honest, because it's very, very fun. But I don't use it as much, unfortunately. Actually, give me 1 second here, guys. 1 little second. The normal was created in ZBrush. No, it was created in the Substance Painter. I did the original base in Substance Painter. The shortcut for the color picket is V in your keyboard, which is important to know. So now another thing here is that we can change this so we're only seeing the color information, because right now there's some other information right here. This software is called 3D Code, guys. 3D Code. 3D Code brush panel. That's the one that I'm missing. I was here when we started, but now I lost it. No, this is not Mari. This is 3D Code. 3D Code. Why do you use 3D Code? Because it allows for a better process in painting. You're gonna see why in just a second. I just need to find the... There we go. T. There you go. That was the shortcut that I was missing. Freaking T. So the letter T gets me into my alphas right here. As you can see, I'm using the Xfox alphas. Very good ones. And I'm going to use this one right here. Just like a straight... a more straight alpha. Okay. So once we have this, again, as I was mentioning, I'm going to go here to my colors. I'm going to grab a slightly different color, a little bit reddish. And I'm going to use this to change the local color on one part of the head right here. We already have the shadows and again, the normal map and things like that. So that's good. But we still need to add and play with lights and shadows, right? Like I would say that's one of the most important parts of the character. I think that's definitely a little bit too light. So I'm going to be a little bit darker, a little bit desaturated. There we go. I prefer this one right here. There we go. Thanks for the follow, Margin Videos. So yeah, this is it. By the way, guys, we got a goal right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed to the channel, or if you're watching this on the on the Twitch and you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we want to get to 20k subscribers by the time we hit our 1-year anniversary. I think we can do it. I think it's quite doable, but we need your help. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't affect you. You're just gonna get a notification when we upload stuff. There we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a very sort of like traditional painting approach, where once we have this, I'm gonna start painting the shadows. I personally like to paint shadows first before we paint anything else. So I'm gonna add a new layer over here. I'm gonna sample the color right here, the sort of like yellowish color. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it darker, but I'm also gonna change the hue a little bit. This is gonna give me a little bit more variation. And what I need to do here is I'm gonna turn off the base color right now and even the normal map. And we need to hit, you can see that that's very, very flat. We need to start hitting the lower portion. So the normal map is great, because it's going to give you an idea of where you want to have your what's the word, your shadows, right? So I know, for instance, the shadows are going to be on this area right here. Right now it's just like a very big blocking of the shadows. And then what we're going to end up doing is we're going to change the blending mode, and instead of using standard, we're going to use something like multiply. Of course, we're going to like remove a little bit of the intensity. But this is what I love about this is what I really like about 3D Code, is the fact that we can blend things. So I'm going to just press a V and grab a slightly darker or softer color there, and we can start adding the blend. And it's very easy to quickly sample the local color that we're doing there, right there. Oh, let me go for a softer brush. Like this one right there. There we go. We can do this. Start adding a little bit of the shadow right there. Remember, all of this is going to be like smoothed out. I feel like, I'm not sure if my pen pressure is working as much as I would like. Let me calibrate this real quick. That's the depth. It's behaving just a little bit weird. Anyway, let's go back to the original color here. Let's grab a tone for the teeth. So for the teeth, I'm gonna go yellowish, lightish white. And this is, again, a very relaxing process because it's like painting. Like when we were kids and we were just like painting coloring books and things like that. Especially this beginning stage. I know a lot of people don't like the flat stage. Now keep in mind that this is a 2K map, so we don't have a lot of room because it's 2K map for a full character. That's relatively low. You know what? I think it's the Hoyan thing. Do I need it? Wanna sync? Nope. Sometimes when I have multiple softwares open, things don't. See, it's not working anymore. Okay, let's save this real quick, and I'm gonna reopen it. Let me close Substance Painter as well. Let's see. Is this the latest version? Yeah, this is the last version of it's 2024.17. One of the things that I really like about Substance Painter, about 3D Code, is that it has a rent to own system. So you start paying, and after a couple of months of paying, like if you were subscribed, you just own it. You still need to pay for another license. Like I believe they give you free updates for like a year, and then it's like, I don't know, $60 or something to keep your license up. There we go. There we go. So what we're going to do here, as I was saying, is we're going to go here to layer 7, and we're going to start painting in the shadows. So for instance, on this inside part of the eye, I would expect there to be a little bit of a shadow. And again, right now this is way too much, but once we change this to a multiply and we bring down the opacity, let's say to like 30%, this is going to start looking a little bit better, especially when we turn on the map, the normal map right there. You can see that we're pretty much creating the planes of where the different elements are going to be. But it's a lot easier to see the shadow on a standard blend right here. Then all of the points right here. let's focus on the face today, so we can really push it to a nice level. Go. Those lines are a little bit weird. Let's go back here. Well, we're gonna paint the highlight in just a second. I cannot read that, mustache cactus. It's like painting miniatures. Yeah, that's exactly right. Cruise 3D, because I hate the color picker inside of Substance Painter. That's the main reason. Like, if the color picker was better, I would definitely paint inside of that one. But this one's a little bit more like Photoshop. So if you've paint this sort of stuff in Photoshop, this makes a little bit more sense. As you can see here, like we don't even have enough pixels to really hit all of these high points right here. There we go. Now, once we have this, we can add a third layer, and this layer is going to be the highlight layer. So I'm just going to start adding some basic highlights here. Again, I'm going to switch things a little bit on the hue, so they're not all exactly the same. This one's also going to have 0 depth. And this is what we're really going to have. I feel like... Why do we... Let me bring the opacity to brush. I prefer to paint... I'm not sure why this brush is not working with opacity, but... See you, Maria. Thanks for coming. There we go. So as you can see, these highlights that we're painting now, they're really gonna push the silhouette and the elements of the character. And to me, it's kind of like sculpting, because you're sculpting, but you're sculpting with light. And I really like this sort of like painterly look that we can get. We're gonna blend things, don't worry. But I've always liked this stage because it looks very raw, very... Oh no, very interesting. Especially when you zoom out, you can see how all of those effects like really push out. Let me check the brush properties, because I'm pretty sure I'm not getting panels, brush options. I'm pretty sure I'm not getting freaking jitter opacity. That's really weird. Let me get the default ones. Ah, there you go. Oh my god, I'm gonna kill myself. No, sir, that's just a joke. So this is the problem. So I was keeping this thing with the mouse, so it was always at 100 on the opacity. I needed to change this to pen tablet. Now we can actually blend. There you go. Now this makes more sense, because now I can just start grabbing the colors, and as you can see, I can start blending. That's what I was looking for. And since we now have that freaking functionality, I can go back to my cool brushes right here. There's this one that I really like, which is like a square brush. See that? Let's actually keep the roughness out. Radius, fall off. No, we don't want to have fall off. There we go. Oh, this is gonna make all the difference, guys. Look at this. Now, actually, kind of want to start over, but I'm not gonna start over. So now, what we can do here is I can actually start painting, and I'm gonna get this sort of like streak effects, which is gonna give me this sort of like hand painted look. And there's a couple of different methods. Some people like to keep their stuff in the same layer. Some people like to have a separate layer for each different option. It's gonna be up to you how you want to blend things. your character. But as you can see, again, it's literally sculpting with color. So we use color, we use dark colors to push the surface in, and we use light colors to bring the surface out. Yeah, so, yeah, let me show you. So, what I love about the color picker here is that literally you just press V on your keyboard, the V key, and now you have the picker, right? Like, you just grab the color and that's it. Inside of Substance, you need to press, I cannot open Substance right now, but you need to press the key and then click. And that's what like messes me up, because instead of just hovering over the color and pressing the shortcut to pick the color, which is what we do right here, you need to hover over the color, press the shortcut, and then click. And that extra click makes it so much worse for me. I know it's stupid, or it might sound a little bit stupid, but it's just that extra click. There might be, yeah, there might be. Now, the other thing is that, I don't know, it just doesn't behave the same way. It's a little bit hard to explain, but it just doesn't behave the same way. Okay, let's start over, because now that I have the proper like brush setup, that was my bad. Now we can actually do it. Okay, so this is back to the base colors right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding some shadows. So I'm gonna add a new layer. And actually, instead of adding this dark shadows, I'm gonna go for sort of like a blue hue-ish shadows. There we go. Because when we again set this to multiply, you're gonna see that we get some very nice, interesting hues right there. Actually, we might need a little bit more saturation. There we go. That looks way better. That's gonna be a shadow over there. And now that we have opacity, I can actually hit this with a more aggressive sort of like tone. And then fix. We're gonna fix. Okay, don't worry. So this is just like some plasters of shadows that we're adding. If you've seen like your girlfriend or your female friends doing their makeup, they usually do this like weird plasters and then they start like cleaning up. Okay, that's a very common sort of like process. And the cool thing about this is we can very quickly block in like our main shadows right here. Thanks for the follow, Koshink, or Koshkin. Yeah, exactly. When I'm painting this inside of Substance, it doesn't feel like I'm painting inside of Photoshop, and this one does. There we go. Whoa. There we go. So as you can see, we've added the shadows, and now of course it's a matter of bringing the opacity down a little bit, because we don't want to overdo it. And now we can add the highlights. So again, we just grab this layer right here, the base layer. We push the contrast and the colors a little bit up, and just change the hue a little bit. In this one, a blending mode that I really like for lights is linear dodge. So linear dodge is really good because it makes things like glow a little bit more. See that? And again, we're gonna change the opacity. So right now I'm just blocking in the main sort of like colors. Now we gotta be careful here. For instance, since we have a different local color, the hue should also change. So we need to grab this color right here and change the hue to a more like orangey one. Okay, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. And to me personally, like seeing this brush strokes, I really like this sort of like style, this sort of like painterly style, kind of like dirty. I know that there's this effect on hand painted where it's super smooth and super clean, but I've always liked this effect as well right here. And of course this one is also gonna go down in intensity, but I never changed the intensity until the very end. Go back to standard blend. And the reason why I don't change the opacity until the very end is because it's very difficult to visualize. Blender has a free add-on called Paint, and it uses layer system by relying on nodes in the background. And it can, yeah. And we were talking about this, David and I, yesterday, about how, of course, Blender is amazing. I love it. I even have a full course about it. But the thing is, if you want to be working on the top productions, like for instance, if you want to work at Blizzard, I'm pretty confident Blizzard uses 3D code here for their hand painted stuff. So you do need, like, it's good to get things for free, right, with plugins and things like that. But you also need to understand that there's a lot of things that are paid for a reason, right? There we go. So as you can see, that's way too intense. So we're gonna breathe. This one is usually like a 20% or something on the intensity first, and then we start adding. So as you can see, I can paint in the light, and I'm imagining, in this case, I'm imagining a top-down light. This is one of the important things that you need to take into account when you're doing like hand-painted textures. You need to find where your light is coming from, or what kind of light are you going for. In this case, we're going for a top-down light. I need to learn more about modular environments for games. There's a couple of really good ones at the Normal Workshop. If you want to check those out, I strongly recommend them. But I'm going to be doing one soon as well. After the anatomy, and then I think we had a creature course, and after that one, we're probably going to be doing the environment. But most of the information is out there, man. Like, just modular, like, asset construction. Let's paint the lips. A little bit here on the chin. And then, all of these little wrinkles right here, we're not going to add the same intensity, so I'm going to be careful with my brush here. But we do want to push out the different elements right there. This is where we can turn off the normal map, because right now we're kind of like cheating, and the normal map is giving us all of the form. And what we want to do eventually is we want to use the painting, only color painting, to bring out all of that form right there. Frijolito Artístico! Welcome to the chat, man, or the stream. There we go. Now I feel like we're going too much into the greenish hues, so I'm gonna add another layer. Another layer, and we're gonna blend things. We're gonna start blending things. Thanks for the sub, man. So let's pick this color. I'm gonna go back to the oranges. I'm gonna use this color to blend a little bit there. As you can see, I'm toning down some of the highlights with this new orange, which is also helping you to blend the different colors. And now I'm not gonna do like multiple layers. I'm just gonna blend on the same layer. I'm just gonna start painting the high points of the character. And I like this brush because it's giving me this sort of like dirty looks. It's not like perfectly smooth. You guys remember Arcane? Of course, I'm not saying I'm doing it like Arcane levels right now. But in Arcane, I really like the fact that they were going for this sort of like very painterly look. Like you could see each brush stroke pretty much. Harambe, what's up, man? Yes, right now we're doing the anatomy course. That's the next one that's coming out. Oh, and we got Pegaso con Flow with a Prime, and we got a hype train going. There you go. I never understand what these hype trains do. I just get this alert like, hey, there's a hype train. Like, I understand why they happen, but I'm not sure if I get anything by having them. Let's push this more to this side. There you go. Thanks for the follow, Fanplastic. I tried just a very quick inner dodge. That's too much. Color dodge? That's a little bit better, actually. We lowered the opacity a little bit. See how we're really like bringing out the different elements. So for instance, here underneath the eyes, we can hit the eyelid a little bit more, and that's gonna really show. That might be a little bit too much though. Let's go standard blend. Okay, let's go. We definitely need to add some highlights here on the eyes. So let's go for a very nice clean white. Actually, let me do that in another layer. So this layer right here is going to be called ice. Pretty sure we can create like masks and things like that. I promise I'm going to study a little bit more about 3D code because it's a fun software. Now, for instance, here I don't want to have this sort of like dirty effect, so I'm going to go back to like a cleaner brush. See that we're getting a little bit of a border there, and that's good for some textures, but not for this ice. There we go. How to avoid the faces showing up in Unreal Engine, a low polyhuman, no matter what you can see. Yeah, it's once you're that low, man, it's really like there's not much you can do, to be honest. Nowadays, 4K or 8K for a full character, it's not really like used anymore, unless you're doing some sort of like mobile game or something, or a game where there's like a lot of units in screen, and in that case, you're gonna be seeing the characters like from really far away. So my advice, just increase the poly count. Will you help me out in rigging? What is the question, man? I mean, if it's a small question, I'm happy to ask. If it's required more time, then it might not be possible right now during the stream. Just ask the question, man. There we go. That's the white right there, but that's not the widest white we can get, right? So that's why you always save a little bit of this, so that we can add a little bit of an extra tone and push some of the highlights even more. I'm gonna turn off this one for just a second. See that? Looks like I'm getting roughness. And then what we can do is we can go back to like a gray color, like a meat gray, actually a little bit yellow might be a good idea, and add very softly a little bit of shadow, both on the top part and on this upper part, because the what's the word, the eyebrow, being this big eyebrow, is going to be projecting a little bit of a shadow on top of the eye. So that way the eye is going to pop out a little bit more. Frijolito, this software is called 3D Code. 3D Code. What color should the eyes be? Red? Again, we're not going to go full red first. We're going to start the base red right here. And this is where... what's the word? This is where your drawing classes come into play, because again, if I turn off the normal map and I want to give depth to this guys right here, how do you give depth? With shadow and light. So if I add a little bit of shadow up here, and then I add a little bit of light down here, right? That gives depth to the eye. So even though we don't have the what's the word, the normal map information, we're still making it look like there's more depth on this area than what we have. We got a cheer, says, "Hey Ave, do you have any good advice on how to replicate the stylized art direction of Netflix Arcane?" This is the starting point. Like, of course you need good sculpts, right? Like good sculpts, good model, good high polys and stuff. But this is it. Like, how do you get this hand-painted effect? You hand-paint it. There's no other way around it. That's the way to do it. But see that, like now, even if we turn off the normal map, the eyes look way more deep than just by having a simple color. And here's where you can really, like, it's all about layers of complexity. So if I want to make this even deeper, I can add a little bit of a darker tone just on the very first border right there, and on this very first border right there, and that's gonna push that border down. And if I grab that red again and I make it a little bit brighter and a little bit lighter, and I just add a little bit right there on the very corner. As you can see here, the texture map's not even letting me already. Like, we're having issues with the amount of pixels that we have. There's not much we can do. I might just go here with a little bit of a pinkish hue. And just add like one little dot right there. But at this point, we're pretty much pixel painting. There we go. And that's going to give us a nicer effect right there. Now, one thing that we can definitely add, now that we're using this sort of like reddish hues, so we can add, oh, that's a little bit of a reddish tint, some of the inside parts here of the eye. Make sure that it's not just like a white sphere, but rather there's some like irrigation or blood or something. There we go. Now, again, remember, with this kind of things, guys, you always need to think about what is the distance at which we're going to be seeing the elements. If we're going to have close-ups and things like that, then, of course, we can start worrying about this sort of elements. But if it's going to be far away, like if this is going to be the distance at which you see the character, you don't need to worry too much about it, okay? And what we can do here is I'm going to blend in. I'm going to bring down the normal map a little bit to 50%. So that we can start seeing the paint a little bit more. And now it's a matter of, again, like keep on working on the paint itself. So let me add another layer. It's going to be highlights. So let's go color touch. And we need to find where's gonna be the focus of our character, right? Of course, usually in faces, this part right here around the eyes is where you want to have the focus. Right now, this is being burnt in. I know. Don't worry. I'm gonna fix that. And as you can see, I'm drawing it, or I'm creating the elements following sort of like the same form that we had on the sculpture. But it follows the form. The same sort of like striations and things that they have right there. Trying to add that effect. Once I have this, we can bring the opacity down. I think that's gonna illuminate the whole face. We can try other things, like linear dodge. No, I think color dodge was looking better. Color dodge, there we go. It's definitely gonna be a low opacity. Let me add some more elements here. I want that base control for a shark rig model. Means parenting all joints and giving to the base control. Yeah, that I mean, sorry, man. That's like that's the whole process of rigging. I thought you had a more specific question, like how do you parent a specific thing? But if you want to do a full control rig, like that's rigging. You need to learn rigging. Am I using a pentav? Yes, I am. In your opinion, is 3D code better for hand painting? Yes, I think 3D code is better for hand painting than Substance Painter. It gives you more control. As I mentioned before, I'm just doing like the super bare minimum on this one, guys. As I mentioned earlier on the stream, I just want to have fun today, so there's more things that you can learn about this. I've never done a shark rig before, man. I've done fish rigs. If you're doing it in Maya, I recommend looking into Advanced Skeleton. It has a preset for fishes, so you might be able to get something out of there. Okay, we're gonna bring the opacity down now. I don't like the nose. I feel like the nose is really missing. So I'm gonna go back to the shadows here, and I'm gonna try to give a little bit more form to the nose. So see how I'm adding a little bit of shadow here on the sides of the nose? It's gonna separate the nose from the rest of the elements. I'm actually gonna bring this guy up. There we go. Adding new layer. This is gonna be another sort of like base coat layer where I just wanna recover a couple of the colors that we lost on the shadow layer. And we're gonna use this to blend a little bit more. So bring down some of the highlights for a second. I'm gonna highlight this a little bit more. As you can see now, the tones are becoming a lot more blended. Right? We're getting something that looks a little bit more blended in. And we're at our normal map. If you remember, we brought it down to like a 50%. So now we're doing most of the work here for the volume. Houdini is used for more procedural stuff and a lot for effects. So if you're gonna be doing a lot of like explosions, smoke simulation, particles and stuff, and things like that, deformations, like all of the effects, if you remember for like Avengers, when they sort of like become dust and things like that, it's a lot easier to do that inside of Houdini than it is inside of Maya. I'm gonna paint the front here of the nose, so I feel like we're losing. There we go. So see that? What I'm gonna do here with the nose is gonna be interesting because I'm gonna darken the whole triangle of the nose right there to really separate it from the rest of the face. And then I'm gonna go even darker, like almost to the full blacks, not full black. I'm gonna go really dark to add even more depth to the nostrils. So we can actually see them being like split right there. I'm gonna go back to like a tanner dark there. I'm actually gonna go to the eraser because I feel like I went a little bit too overboard here. Just want to remove a little bit of the dark effect. Another thing that we definitely need to do is to start working on the stitches. So I'm gonna go and grab like a tan color here for the stitches. Let's start painting them. And the cool thing about having the normal map is that if you have the normal map, it's a lot easier to find where these things are gonna be. Look at that, it looks really good. And again, don't hyper focus on things, especially on this early stages of any process. You want to try to look at the big picture first. So this is roughly the distance at which I would imagine we're going to be seeing this character, and it's starting to look quite nice. So I like it. Can we keep fixing it? Of course. This is one of the things that I always talk with you guys. I always tell you, be patient. Be patient with the process, because we tend to get a little bit too desperate sometimes. And we want to finish the process like really fast, and it takes time. Good things take time. Okay, now that we have the stitches, of course, we also need to start adding the highlights and the dark areas. So I'm gonna go to this guy right here. I'm gonna go for like a purplish hue. And again, we need to imagine that the shadow is coming from the top part, so we're gonna see a little bit of a shadow on this lower portion. That's gonna start giving depth to the whole thing. And then we grab the same color. Actually, I forgot to add this stitches over here. With the same local color. What brushes are you using? I'm using some brushes. These are just the basic brushes, I think. It's just a round brush with pressure sensitivity. And now we're gonna go for a lighter color. And here's where we're gonna hit the highlight of the stitch. That's gonna make it pop, right? It's gonna make it so like this thing is coming from the top. Gonna start making it look 3D, even though it's a fake, right? I know we're still using a little bit of the normal map, but this is a sort of like fake. And the fun thing about this is that you can push this contrast as much as you want. Like right now, I'm just using base layer, highlight, and then shadows. But if you want, I can go a little bit lighter, a little bit higher here. Of course, it's going to be smaller, and just hit a little bit of the points right there, just on the very point. So as you keep adding more of this sort of like effect, you're going to work on smaller and smaller areas. This is also going to make it look a little bit glossier. See that? Now we're getting a lot of, even if I turn off the normal map, we're still getting a lot of volume just from the painting itself, which is what we want to do. That's our main goal right there. I'm gonna do the same thing here for the teeth. So for instance, I just grab the teeth, grab a lighter color, and I hit the high point of the teeth right here. Right here, right here, right here. It's gonna add volume. And then I grab the same base color of the teeth. Let's go for like a darker, slightly browner hue. And we're gonna add a little more shadow right here, especially where you would expect there to be a little bit of like ambient occlusion. Remember, we're actually having our ambient occlusion turn off. Once we turn off, like that's why this feels like cheating. That's why I'm teaching you guys the base shapes. So if you have a good effect right here, once you add the normal map and once you add the ambient occlusion, everything just like gets potentialized and you get like a super like nice effect. Like this is what you could see in game like right now, and it looks quite nice, right? It's just a normal map and just ambient occlusion on top of the base color. This can all be baked down, so you don't actually need, and even if you just have your color and your ambient occlusion, it already looks quite nice. right? Because the ambient occlusion, again, is kind of like cheating. It's doing the shadows for you and all of the little details. So if you do, and this is what I always tell you about 3D, if you follow the steps and do things one by one, making sure that every step of the way you're getting the best possible result, then once you add everything up, you get a better effect, a better result. Let's see. Would you be outlining the stitches? Are you using the G value of the normal map for shadowing? No, I'm using an ambient occlusion for the shadow. So this is just an ambient occlusion map, and the normal map is just like by itself. Like I'm not changing anything. Everything's pretty much default. And am I gonna be changing some things on the stitches? Yes, of course. So one of the things that I want to do here that I think it's quite important is we need to add the blood. The blood's gonna really help. This is where colors, like right now this character is a very sort of like standard, it's not complementary color because we're not doing diffuse. I think it's called analogous, where all of the stuff it's on the same sort of like layer or the same sort of like tone. So it's all warm tones. We're not using any dark tones. So for instance here I'm adding the blood. We can add another sort of like blood effect on this cutter. Actually I kind of like that as a muscle fiber instead of blood. There we go. For instance, here I don't have a lot of normal map information on this other stitch, so I have to do it on my own. I have to blend the colors on my own and create the sort of like the cut. There we go. This is 3D code. Yeah, that's right. This is 3D code, guys. It's one of the, I'm not gonna say industry, well, no, it is quite the industry standard for hand painted sort of like stuff. And a little bit of red here on the gums. And then what we can do, this one I'm gonna change to overlay. Oh wait, I'm actually painting on everything else, so we cannot do that. As you can see, that's gonna give me even more definition there on the face. It's gonna bring a little bit of color because everything's kind of like dull and like a little bit off. So this one can really... Exactly, Jason Player. If you have a really great sculpt and if you have a really great bake, then this becomes a lot easier because you just save yourself a lot of time. It is possible though, and I've seen people do this, where they just have like the base, like super base color, like I don't have Maya anymore, but if you just have like the basic like mesh, and then they paint everything on top, it is possible. It can be done. However, my method, and this is the one that I'm showing you right now, is if you have a good like sculpt, you can transfer that into a hand painted style like relatively quickly. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add a new layer, and I'm gonna add a little bit more color because one of the things that I see right now is that everything again is very uniform. It's just like oranges and reds and yellows, and I'm missing that sort of like punch to make this thing look a little bit better. So this one is gonna be my shadow. Let's call this shadow. That way, if I need to go back to this part right here, I can just go back. But in this shadow right here, I'm gonna go and grab like a purplish bluish hue, and I'm just gonna hit it nicely here, again on the areas where I would expect to have the shadow. Like very generously, as they say. Like just a general like shadow pass pretty much. And once we have that, we can set this to multiply and bring the opacity down. See that? So that shadow there is playing nicely with the colors that we had underneath to give us a nice sort of like effect. Might be a little bit too much on the opacity. And it's just like in traditional miniature painting we call this like a glaze, where it's a very sort of like diluted layer of paint that just adds a little bit of a tone to the whole thing. Yeah, exactly, Jason Player. This is nothing new. I didn't invent this. And as you mentioned, this is just quite a bit. Let's go back to this one, which is becoming like our flat layer now. And I want to do the little things right here, which are going to be gray. These are also going to be cool because they're going to break up the monotonous sort of like color that we have and give me a little bit of a metal effect. There we go. And metals are a little bit more different. Well, not a little bit. They're quite a bit different. Because metals, and in this one I think we can use symmetry. If we want to make this thing look, it's called like non-metallic metal, where you're not using a metallic map and you paint it to look like a metal. You need to use a lot of like, again, you need to find where's my core. The core is the high point, right? Like this one right here. And then right by the core, you're usually going to have some like dark reflections. Like this. Then there's going to be, again, flat areas, such as this one right here. And then you're going to have a secondary like dark core on your shadow, which is going to be like on this lower section right here. There we go. There you go. Oh. But then there's gonna be a little bit of reflected light. So that means that on the bottom part right here, it's not gonna be as dark as the core shadow. And you might even get like a little bit of highlight. Not exactly a highlight, but just like a bounce light. So the light is bouncing from the character, and you're gonna get a little bit of that reflection right there. And then, due to how metal works, you might have a couple of extra reflections from the environment in other parts as well. There's always going to be like a really, really high point and a really, really low point. Corners or angles usually get an extra hit of light. So for instance, see that little cut that we have right there? Like that face, that cut is facing up as well. So it makes sense to have another high highlight right here. Again, here we're running a little bit into the issue of resolution. Like we have too few, like very, very few polygons or pixels to be able to paint this metal. But we're just making it so that it looks like metal, giving the impression of metal is what I say. What was your biggest solo project? Oh, that's a good question. What do you mean by solo project? Can you elaborate there? What do you mean by solo project? I think it was Thyros. There you go. That does, see that? Like it looks shiny. That's what we're going for. So like compared to the skin that looks very flat and matte, this looks a little bit shinier because of the reflexes. I still think we can definitely fix this a little bit more, but definitely looks a little bit shinier. And this is flat. There's no metallic map. There's no roughness map. It's just a flat effect. Yeah, it's color theory. White minus color theory at its finest. And we can do the same thing here for the eyes. Now for the eyes, I definitely will need another like layer. And on the eyes, what we can do if we want to make this look a little bit glossier is we just add a light sort of like reflection on the top right here. Let's turn off symmetry. So it's just going to be like a little dot right there, which is the reflection of the environment. But we do need to change this to like a linear dodge or something, or like a color dodge, so that we can really, really, really like push it out. Right? Sort of like that glossy effect on the eye. Might need to push it a little bit more. And then we can play a little bit with the opacity as well. That will like make the eyes pop, or should make the eyes pop a little bit more. Yeah, I was in next to the for like 3 or 4 years, I think. What's the difference between a Frankenstein and a zombie? Frankenstein is a constructed zombie, and zombies are like an sort of like invoked or ritualistic sort of thing. I mean, there's different kinds of zombies, right? Like there's your parasite zombies, there's your demon zombies from like necromancers and things like that. There's your disease zombies, like a virus, like Resident Evil or Walking Dead. But at least, to my understanding, Frankensteins are usually built. So someone built this guy. Let's go back to our base layer here. And let's just keep adding a little bit more color. So for instance here, I'm gonna push this area up a little bit more. The neck muscles as well. If I'm wrong, someone correct me, but at least to my understanding, that's how I consider zombies. Some of them are, like in this case, they're built. There we go. What was your biggest... Yeah, Henkel, what do you mean, man? I'm still waiting for your clarification there. What do you mean by my biggest solo project? The thing that I did by myself? Oh, passion project. Huh, that's a good one. I mean, I guess that's one of the fun things about like having my own brand now. That every single thing that I do for my projects is my own passion project. So I really enjoyed Door to Dwarf. Like the whole process of modeling, sculpting, baking, texturing. I even 3D printed the sword. I have it over there. I've shown it before on stream. This Plague Doctor, I was really happy with how it turned out. So that one was another very good one. But I think Thyros was definitely another one. And I've mentioned this before. Like that's one of the things that I really liked about working at Nextud. It was the fact that I was giving a lot of artistic, what's the word, liberties, right? Like freedom. Like I most of the time I got to pick what the course was going to be about and the concepts and stuff like that. So doing this character right here was very, very, very fun. Very fun. Can we use Gaussian blur, for instance, in the here instead of what's the word? 3D code? Yeah, we have filters. There's also this like smudge and like airbrush. So yeah, there's other ways to do it. I still don't like the nose. Let me see if I can fix the nose by. Kind of want to just like outline it a little bit more, a little bit like comic book style. Here's where we can also start again using color as a sculpting mechanism, pretty much. And start adding some extra details that were not on the sculpt before. We can add on the paint layer. And that's gonna look, or make him look a little better. I got banned for a week. I think it was for our station posting in Rumpley's. Really? If that happens, just let us know, guys. And as long as you didn't actually do something wrong, because we've got spammers and scammers on there sometimes, and they get automatically banned. As long as you're not doing anything wrong, you can look into it and fix that. There we go. That looks better. See the difference? Look at the difference on the nose there. We're actually painting some of the details there on the nose now, and that looks way better. So I'm doing a little bit of like line art work here for some extra wrinkles and things that we can add on the whole thing. Misa 3D, saludos. Saludos hasta España, mi estimado. "3D code doesn't allow filters?" No, I'm pretty sure that it has to have some filters. I mean, I haven't used them, to be honest, but there has to be some sort of like filters somewhere. I'll check it. Maybe I'll do another like YouTube video, but I'm pretty sure it has to have. At least a blur filter. There you go. Not bad. Not bad for a couple of hours. Okay, let's go to the eyes. The eyes, there you go. So as you can see, the eyes have a couple of things that they definitely want to fix. I'm just going to erase them. So I'm just going to clean the eyelids here. Remove any information that we don't need. I actually don't think that one's helping too much. What are we missing? A couple of highlights on the teeth, maybe? And maybe a final pass on highlights on the body. So let's call this layer highlights. Highlights. By the way, guys, you can get 3D Code for free and use it in a learning thing. You can't. I think you can save, but you cannot export. And you get like a watermark or something. But it's really good because you can practice. The only thing is you're limited to only 10 layers, which can become a little bit problematic. Right now we're at like 13 layers or something. But it's a good way to there we go. It's a good way to learn. So here I'm gonna add like the highlights that we've been adding before, especially like on the chin. We're gonna smooth this out. Well, not smooth. We're gonna like break the opacity down. But we really want to hit the high points here. Don't just trust the process. Like, I know this looks a little bit too intense right now. As you can see, we kind of like fade out towards the edges. So we still hit a couple of these parts right here. There we go. And once we're happy there, just bring the opacity down. So we find a point where we're getting that little hit, but it's not too much, right? It's not overdoing it. A little bit on the ears. Because usually that's the points that you see the most in a character. It's again kind of like a little glaze that we're doing on the important parts of the face. Nicholas says, Thyros was great. I completed and I like the result a lot, but I don't know if polishing tutorial stuff is useful or not. Yeah, I mean, it is useful. But as I've mentioned before, one of the best things that you can do, especially once you're already working, because Thyros, I would consider it to be like an advanced tutorial. You need to know like softwares to get the most out of it. Try just doing your own. Like, instead of doing Thyros, try to create your own like character name. I don't know. Victor or something like that, and you follow the same steps, you follow the same sort of like guidelines, but you create your own result. So that way you're not you are following a tutorial and you're learning, but you're giving it your own spin, right? And that makes it a lot easier to be able to publish it. There you go. So look at how much difference the highlights make, guys, and it's such a simple layer. Just makes it look very, very nice. Now I definitely feel like we're missing a little bit of highlights here on the outer parts. Not too much. Not too much, but just a little bit of color there. What do you guys think? What do we miss on the face? Do we need anything else? I'm not sure if we need anything else on the face, to be honest. Because now I'm sure we can turn off the normal map completely, and we're still gonna be like, it's still gonna hold quite nicely. We can definitely push some shadows a little bit more, maybe. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the next step. So from this point, like if we really want to have that sort of like effect, we really need to push the shadows just a tad bit more. So let's go back here. Let's go back to the shadow area. I'm gonna add a new layer. Again, I'm gonna use this sort of like a reddish dark color, so that we have a little bit of tone on the shadows. And it's a matter of like painting a little bit more shadow there. It's called the division of planes, right? Like we wanna make sure that all of this, for instance, here on the lips, really push the upper lips forward. Just paint. It depends, Mr. Shadow. So sometimes, again, depending on the engine, if you can afford, if the engine or the game that you're doing can afford to have lights, I would probably use it with a lit shader so that it gets a couple of like nice shadows and stuff. It's gonna look a little bit weird, right? Because like the shadows on the scene might not always match the shadows on the character. But if you are gonna go like super low poly, then you can do this. There was a game I used to play a long time ago. It was called the Dragalia Lost. You've probably seen it. It was a mobile game, like a gacha game, and the models were all hand painted. So you can see them right here. Everything was hand painted. Like this is way more polished than what I'm doing right now. You can see that the gradients are very soft and it's just very clean. There was no normal map. There was no like metal map or anything. Everything was just painted, and it was needed this way because the game was for mobiles, right? So you should be able to, or the main goal was for everyone to be able to download it into their phones and play it. And we know that some phones are a little bit on the lower side in performance things than like your iPhone or your Galaxies and stuff like that. So it was important to have that, and that's why in this particular cases you might have everything painted. Like you're not gonna have any normal map, you're not gonna have anything, so you're just gonna have this right here. Like this is what you would see in game, and this is where you probably need to push some of your elements a little bit more, which is what I'm doing right now. So if I really want to have this sort of like crevice right there, I'll probably need to actually draw here the deep groove on the texture and fade it out. It's kind of like sculpting again. You're gonna have to re-sculpt, and that's why the normal map is so good, because if you have the normal map, you can use it as a sort of guide, and when you remove the normal map, you should be very close to what you had before. But it does require, of course, more patience and more time. Héctor Garza, saludos, mi estimado. Gracias. Bienvenido. For instance, this one, I'm gonna move it on top of the ice, because I do want to give the ice a little bit like an outline, kind of like eyeliner. And again, right now we're getting into the issue that, look at this, like it's like we're focusing on such a small section right there that we're definitely having a little bit of a struggle with density now. Like the normal map, this is just a 2K map. And the face has a very small, like a section of that 2K map, so there's not much we can do. We're gonna be a little bit limited here. That's why I'm using this sort of like comic book style of outlining things, kind of like a line art, to get out more detail. So especially when we see it from afar, we can see a little bit more detail. Yeah, thanks guys. Someone said that my tutorials are really good. I appreciate it. And remember, we haven't even turned on the ambient occlusion. The ambient occlusion is going to give us even more like a shadow and darkness. This is a little bit too much, to be honest. So I'm definitely going to bring the opacity to like 50% or something, because otherwise it's going to override all of those very like nice colors that we got before. You can definitely also like paint your ambient occlusion. So instead of being a black and white, it could be like a dark blue or the dark red or something. And that's going to give you a little bit more variation as well. But let's compare. Let's do a quick comparison here. You have to make a quick tutorial on how to paint over a normal map in Substance Painter. I do cover that in the Substance Painter course, man. Like, where is it? Here. I think that's chapter 3 or chapter 4. Where is it? Chapter 2. There's one. There's a chapter. I don't remember where it was. I think it was here. I think it was in chapter 3 in baking textures. I show how you can add a layer inside a substance to paint out some of the normal map errors that you sometimes get, especially when things are really close to each other. So here, I'm just gonna say File. There's a plugin to export to Blender. I have not used it, so I'm gonna have to Textures, Export, Color. Let's see if this works. Let's call this Abomination Hand-Painted. So I want to do a quick animation. You guys want to do some animation? Because we only got like 30 minutes left, but I think it's gonna be fun if we do a little bit of an animation. Let's say real quick. And I want to compare. I want to see how my old textures looks to this one, and I think it's gonna look definitely a little bit better. Have I ever tried to create a painterly look by rebrushing the normal maps? No, but I remember a game that did that. By the way, this hand-painted thing, I also saw it on a very famous indie game. Which one was it? Well, Darksiders. I've always been inspired by Darksiders. I think it fits my my style a lot. They use this very, again, sort of like stylized effect. And on the hand paint stuff, this is polypaint. And when you see this is polypaint, but they use a similar process for their elements. But this, guys, they do use a glossiness and what's the word, and metallic. So there's like a mix of both worlds. Hades does something similar. So Hades game. This is a cell shaded effect, but this is 3D. Like when I saw this, I thought they were like sprites, but no, this is 3D. So most of the stuff that they do, they use Maya for the animation, I think. There you go. So this is the model right there. This is what they animate, and this is how it looks after the shaders. So this is not hand painted, or at least I don't think it is. There might be some hand painted stuff, but it's more about shaders. So they use a lot of shaders to get this effect in game. There we go. So this right here, let me get the normal map real quick. Normal. Remember that normal maps instead of Maya should be set to raw, so that you can see them properly. There we go. So this is the old textures that we had. Let me duplicate. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna assign a new material, Lambert, which is what you would be like a super normal effect. And this is it. There we go. Let's compare the faces. Not bad, right? Here you can really see the difference. So this was the old like Substance Painter hand painted style that I did, and this is the new like actual hand painted. You can even see it here on the neck how this layer is just like a fill layer. And this one definitely pops a lot more, especially when seen from afar. The differences between the high points and the low points definitely make it look a little bit more painted, I would say. Of course, we're missing the whole body, but it was going to be impossible to finish the whole body in just like 2 hours, right? But here's the cool thing. We can animate this. Like, this is actually, like, because we're using the same normal map or the same UV maps that we used before. So this character is, like, perfectly ready to be, like, animated. Like, the whole rig and everything. Which, by the way, this is something that they do quite often in games. Like, this is something that they did for Xenoblade, Xenoblade Chronicles. Remastered comparison. So there we go. So when they remade this one, I need to get it. I really need to play this one. I know the story. It's not been spoiled to me or anything, but I really need to. They changed this sort of like style. They went for like a more realistic style to a more anime-ish thing. And a lot of the things that they do is they repaint textures. So a lot of the things have been redone, repainted, and I definitely think it's quite an upgrade for this one. Some people didn't like the fact that they changed from a realistic to a more sort of like anime-ish style. I personally like the animation style, so I don't mind. But yeah, this is it. This is what they do quite a bit. So when you hear about remasters, sometimes it's just this. It's like texture upscaling. Look at this. So it was from the 3DS, the Wii version, into the Switch version, and you can see how things change quite a bit. And a lot of the times it's just going back there and do it. Yeah, Torchlight. Torchlight is another game that definitely does something similar in this hand-painted style. And of course, World of Warcraft, right? League of Legends. It's another perfect example of this sort of like hand-painted style. So yeah, that's it, guys. I've mentioned, if you were not here at the beginning of the stream, today is my wife's birthday, and it's May 10th, so it's Mother's Day here in Mexico. So there's a couple of things that I need to do over here. We need to go and sing the birthday song and everything. And I guess we're gonna be stopping here. I know this was a shorter stream, a little bit shorter than usual. So yeah. No, it was not a DDoS. It's sometimes Google images are hosted in sites that are unsafe, and you get that sort of like alarm. Yeah, one thing that I definitely need to check is the sculpting part here instead of 3D code. I have not done it, or I have not like really tested it, but I will do that as well. Thanks, guys. Thank you. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy day today. So thank you guys for being on this stream. Remember, we're gonna have one more stream every single Friday. We're gonna have more videos, more shorts. If you're not following our socials, make sure to follow. I upload a lot of content in short format as well. And one more thing, if you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is, of course, by following and by checking the courses. So if you want to check the courses, our site is avleal3d.com. We got 6 courses right now that you can check and use to learn more about the 3D world. And don't forget to join our Discord as well. David's going to be there making sure that everyone gets in. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.